Hey guys,
Hey.
welcome back to the channel. We're glad that you can join us so that we can discuss a very, very, very important topic that a lot of people they talk about. They kind of I wouldn't say they don't know the seriousness of it, but they just kind of say it in passing. A lot of us, we think we know what trauma is or the things that affect us, but we're going to talk about how to heal from trauma, how to heal from childhood trauma, emotional trauma, different types of traumas. And that's what we're going to cover in this lesson, guys. And we feel it's a very important topic because many of us deal with it. I'm sure you deal with it in some form of fashion. I'm sure you have family and friends who deal with it. But we're going to tackle this subject. It's going to be deep. We want you to share your comments. We've been getting a lot of comments from readers, and that's one of the reasons from the viewers that why we want to touch upon this subject that inspired this lesson, because, and we've said it throughout other lessons of our story, our background. If you go back and listen, a lot of us we come up in poverty, and that's not really, I'd say, a factor, because some people, even if you're rich, you still can have you can suffer from some form of trauma.
Yes.
So it affects all races, all income levels, everyone.
Absolutely.
We all deal with some sort of trauma.
Absolutely.
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's what we're going to cover. Yeah, we're going to cover in this lesson. We're going to use scripture to go through things and talk about trauma. And we're going to not only show you what trauma is, but we're going to give you tips on how to heal from it, how not to heal from it. Because, guys, there's different ways people heal from trauma in different ways. They think they're healing, but they go through a process in many different ways. And we're going to show you what worked for us, stories that we've heard. Because, guys, I can tell you, between us two, we've spent thousands of dollars on trauma and dealing with counselors and stuff like that. Just going through our stuff. And we're going to dive into that, and we're going to share our story with you guys. And hopefully that'll be helpful to you.
Right. I just want to say this too. They have some people in the world too who may not, like he said, have come up in poverty. I want just to make this known that even though that's not the case for some, and even though some people may have came up in better situations than others, every single person has dealt with some form of dysfunction in their family.
Right.
Period. Because none of us is perfect.
Exactly.
So if you look deep enough, I'm sure you'll be able to find some form of dysfunction. So I just wanted to say this because we don't want people to feel like just because we're talking about poverty or whatever that's the only people that deal with trauma. If you okay, go move on. Deal with trauma. Yep. That's the only people that deal with trauma, because that's not the case.
Right. Yeah, guys. Well, we know where the trauma, where it started from. It started in the garden, our disobedience, the disobedience of our forefathers. So that impacts the whole world. Yep. So the trauma, that impacts everybody. But everybody. I'd say for us, especially in the African American community, we have a lot more trauma because we've still suffering from the effects of slavery. Yes. We haven't had time to heal. That gap hasn't been long enough and hasn't been close for us to heal from slavery. So we still dealing with, and even though we're not in physical chains, we still have a mental chain on our body. Mental chain on our minds. Yeah, we still suffering from mental slavery. So we got a lot of issues to deal with the black community because we haven't healed from those things. And just in general, for everyone, a lot of us come from dysfunctional families. We haven't healed from that. There's dysfunction. And a lot of time you have to think trauma, you have to suffer like a traumatic event, like molestation, or someone died, or you lost a parent or something. Or you probably came up in, they have some too have been parents. Through, abusive, or foster care. I mean, you have all kinds of, we hear it all and seen it all. And but that's just different forms. There's all types of forms, guys, of dysfunctional family. But what I was saying was that not all traumas come from that. You don't really have to come from that. It can be things that your parents neglected, that they didn't give you. That's a form of trauma, and that's all the things that we're going to talk about.
Not being there emotionally for you,
right. So
something like that.
That impacts you also.
Right, and I just want to say too, that when it comes to trauma, that is not just us that deal with trauma.
Mm-hmm.
They have other races too, Caucasian races, other races too.
Right.
The truth is, they deal with trauma just like us.
Exactly.
The only thing is, ours is more in the forefront. They put it out more in the media and showcase our trauma more than any other race.
Right.
But we have learned that other races deal with trauma too, just like we do.
Exactly.
Again, it's just ours is the one that's put into the spotlight for people to see.
Right.
And the other races, they deal with it more on a
behind closed doors.
Behind the scenes.
Right.
So
that's, you hit the perfect segue. We got this comment from a viewer when you're talking about how it impacts different races. You want to read that? One of our viewers said they wrote us.
Which one right here? Yep, it says, I'm in a place where I have been walking with Yah for years now. I am mixed Latin American and raised in a broken single parent home. Lots of trauma, patterns of unhealthy abusive relationships and marriage in the past. I thank Yah for bringing me through all of it.
Wow.
And guess what? You remember when I read that? I told you, I said, wow. I said, this is a different race. I say, but it's similar. I have some form of a similar story as well from when I was young. So I'm like, wow, just to, to read that and to know that it's not just our race of people that deals with that. Some of them they dealt with some of the same things we've dealt with too in our race, African Americans.
Like you said, we all impacted in different ways. You came from a broken home. You had a mom and dad. They got divorced. I came from a single parent home where I never seen a father. I had 6 brothers and sisters. So it was in extreme poverty. So that impacted me. And growing up, I never thought that it impacted me. I just thought that's just the way it was. We were poor, but we were happy. Well, so-called happy. But my mom, she didn't have time to pour into each and every one of us, because she was dealing with trying to keep a roof over our heads and dealing with the stuff from her childhood. And that's what we're going to talk about also, about our parents and the childhood experiences that they had. So it's different layers to this, guys, and we're going to talk about healing from childhood trauma, and we're going to talk about it and cover it. So let's dive into the scriptures, guys. If you look up trauma, the word trauma in the Greek is 5134, and the word, it's trauma, and it's the definition of it is a wounds. So many of us are walking around with invisible wounds, and you can't see it because it's on the inside. We're dealing with these things internally. So we walking around as a wounded people, as wounded individuals.
And I could promise you, many people, including myself, did not know that the word trauma was even in the scriptures.
Yep. It's in the scriptures.
Wow.
It's a wound. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And we're going to talk about what scripture, from what I found, it's mentioned in the scriptures once. And we're going to talk about that scripture where it was brought up. But guys, we're doing this topic, very important topic, talking about healing from childhood trauma. And it's important for you guys to heal, to know how important it is to heal from your wounds, because it can impact you in all kinds of ways, guys.
And trickle down and impact those coming after you too.
Right, and impact the kids. That's very powerful. Because a lot of times we walk around thinking that nothing's wrong with me. I'm fine. I made it as an adult, and I have a great job, or I finished school. I have more things than my parents ever had. I'm in a great position, but mentally, our emotional state, we have been impacted. We've been wounded. And
that don't mean that you're not suffering or dealing with some form of trauma, because some people hide their trauma through success.
Exactly. Different forms of success, whether it be education, like I said, a job, or material things. It can be
even through your family.
I like to use this analogy about these invisible wounds. It's like like having a broken ankle. If you go to the doctor with a broken ankle, what would they tell you? Would they tell you just you're fine?
No.
Just go play basketball or something. You can go run a 5-mile marathon.
No.
What they're gonna tell you? To rest, right? Give yourself some time to heal.
Right.
And that's what we don't do with our emotional wounds,
Right.
with our trauma. We don't give ourselves time to heal.
Right.
We walking around thinking that we're all right.
Mm-hmm.
If it works like that in the physical world, why wouldn't it work like that in the spiritual world, in the emotional world?
Right.
So we have to give ourselves time to heal, and it's important to heal from these things.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it happened when you were a kid, you didn't heal from it. It's still compiling on
Eventually,
top of itself.
it'll come out.
It's gonna show
kind
out,
of
right?
It can be when you start to have children of your own, and then you start some of that stuff that you been suppressing for so many years will come out when it comes to dealing with your children, and that could come in the form of anger. You know, like just being angry with them for certain things, or being highly critical of your children, or being overly protected of them. You're trying to protect them from what you've been through. Like, we've seen it all, you know. They have some, well, I don't want to jump, but I'm saying we've seen some too where they had like a mother who she been through molestation, and then when she had her own children, she was super protective to the point to where it kind of pushed the one of her sons away. He turned out to be a great kid and all, but it pushed him away because he felt like he couldn't be himself because his mama was trying to guard him and protect him, which is understandable, you know, because she could only operate based on her circumstances, what, you know, based on the information she has at the time, and that's all she knew was I need to protect my child, you know. But I mean, it could just come out in different forms, so it's important to be aware of the traumas that you have dealt with,
right?
That way it doesn't spew over into your kids, and if it has, because a lot of times it does, then when your children, because eventually they will, when they come and want to have that talk with you about their experiences from growing up and how they experienced you, that part is very important to hear them out, because a lot of times many parents will not want to hear it. They will try to deflect,
exactly,
and they won't want to hear what the child has to say, because they'll be like, I took care of you, you know, I kept a roof over your head, so you should honor me because of that, and you shouldn't back talk, and start making them feel like they don't have a voice. You back talking me, you disrespecting me, but really they're crying out because they want to be heard. Exactly.
That's true. Yeah, we're going to touch more upon that. But I want to dive first into why it's important to heal from our trauma, heal from our wounds. It's beneficial, guys, to heal from these wounds. Number one, for your overall health. Because if you don't think that these wounds, the trauma impacts our health.
Oh, yes, it does.
It affects you a lot. Because if you didn't know, a lot of like disease, like medical conditions, they stem from trauma. There are multiple conditions that impact our health when you're dealing with trauma. When you're not healing from this trauma, there's conditions like Bell palsy, multiple sclerosis, and I'm sure you've heard of other ones that you can mention. Lupus, all these things.
I mean, what you guys don't know, I actually this is my story. I went through that when I became an adult. I was dealing with from my childhood trauma, it started to creep in as I got older, and as I was a mother and taking care of, you know, my kids and the home. A lot of what I've been through in my childhood started to come out, and I started becoming bitter. I started becoming bitter towards my parents. My daddy was still alive at the time, and I was becoming bitter because my daddy wasn't present in my life. Certain things. Remember, I don't know if you've seen some of our other videos, but I did come from an abusive home as a child before my mom remarried. So it was a lot that I experienced, and I was starting to become bitter towards my parents over that. And I was becoming so bitter to the point to where I was talking about it almost every day. And eventually what started happening to me is I started feeling all kind of pain in my body. I started becoming dizzy. I started sleeping a lot. And I was going into a depression and I did not know. And I went to the doctor, and when I went to the doctor, they ran some tests on me, and that's when I found out I had lupus. And immediately I knew where it was coming from. I realized it was coming from unforgiveness, because I knew I wasn't feeling those type of conditions until I started becoming bitter and talking about it all the time, and then I became depressed. So when that happened, I'm gonna make it short. When that happened, that's when I had to go on my knees, take it to Yah, cry out to Yah, and ask him for forgiveness for my feelings, you know, and ask him to heal my heart, you know, and heal me from my trauma. And after that, that's when I just stopped I'm not advising everybody to do that. This was my fate that caused me to do this. I had a strong belief that I wasn't going to walk, you know, I wasn't going to continue to live with lupus. And I took the medication for, I think it was a couple of months, and then I threw it away and I said, I already know what it is. I need to forgive. And I got on my knees and cried out and said, I forgive my parents for all that they've done. I mean, y'all completely took that bitterness out of my heart. And a couple of months later, I went back to the doctor to get tested and found out I no longer had it. And the doctor was like, when I tell you, he was shocked, and he was like, you're in remission. I don't think you should get off of this medication. And I was like, I do. I know where it was coming from. I said, I feel perfectly fine. I feel like I'm free from lupus. I'm clear from lupus. I don't feel it's coming back.
Right.
And it's been over 10 years now. Well, actually almost 13 years.
Yeah.
And
hallelujah. It's
been gone. So, yes, illnesses, they do cause trauma. Not trauma. They do. Trauma does cause illnesses.
Exactly.
That's what I meant.
Exactly. Powerful testimony. That's why we're talking about it's beneficial to heal from trauma, because it impacts your health. It's beneficial for your health, and it's also beneficial for those around you. You can give yourself more to them. How can you heal how can you be there for others if you're not healed? You hear the saying when you're on an airplane, they go through the pre-flight instructions. They tell you if something happens, when they drop down the oxygen mask, put your mask on first.
Yeah, they tell it to the parent.
Yeah,
put your mask on first before your child.
You can't help your child if you're not receiving oxygen. So
absolutely,
you have to heal yourself first before you can be better for others.
Right.
And Yah, lean on Yah, just like what you said. He will be there for us. He will heal us. Jeremiah 30:17. You want to read that one?
Let me see where we're
right here.
Okay, Jeremiah 30:17, it says, for I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, said Yahuwah. Because they called thee an outcast, saying, this is Zion, whom no man seeketh after.
Yah says, I will restore health unto you. That's why we have to put our trust in Yah. Yep. We have to. Number one. That's number one in healing from trauma. We have to put our trust in Yah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, 100%. Also, the other benefit of healing from trauma, healing from your childhood wounds, is you're going to have compassion and empathy for others. Once you heal, you'll have a greater understanding of what they went through.
Absolutely.
You share your testimony. I'll share mine with my mom. Like I said, my mom wasn't there. So it was kind of, what would you say, subconsciously, it was a rift between us, even though I probably felt like it wasn't one when she was alive. But she died a couple of years ago, and I was going to talk to her and trying to have a talk with her and stuff. And our relationship was strained for years, many years. And we wasn't close like we were when I was coming up. But over time, with this rift, I just kind of made my peace with her, and I made my peace with Yah that at the time she gave me what she could have given me. She did the best that she could. I wish that it could have been better, but that's not how Yah wanted it. So we have to give forgiveness for our parents, especially, because I have to have empathy for them, because I'm sure if they wanted a perfect relationship with us, I'm sure they wish things would have been better.
Right.
But sometimes we have to put ourselves in their shoes and experience what they went through, because I found out later that My mom, she really didn't have a childhood. She didn't know who her mom was until she was 16 years old. So I could just imagine how that was for her,
Right.
not knowing who her mom was, not knowing who her parents were.
Right.
She thought her aunt was her mom for 16 years. So that's a lot of trauma on a child. So we have to extend forgiveness, extend empathy towards those who caused the trauma to us. And that's another step in healing.
Right.
That we have to go through.
And I want to say to this, because I didn't add this part too. For mines, if you guys, been listening to us, then you will know for me that I experienced, I think it was about like 13 years ago, and my father committed suicide, and he battled with addiction for many years, and now I understand that when we were younger, he was battling. And I didn't even know about it. Right. We didn't know about it. My mother didn't know about it. So he was battling. So not only was he battling, he was repeating his trauma.
Yep.
Because he came up in the same type of household.
Right.
So he repeated it with us. And he really didn't know. He gave us the best that he knew how to give. He didn't know how to be a father to us or a husband. He didn't have, most of the time you have to have people to show that to you. You have to be able to see that, okay? He did not know how. So that part, I understood that. And for my mom, too, they got together. They were young. They both came together with their traumas because her father wasn't present in her life.
It's a term that they're calling trauma bonding.
Exactly.
Bonding on trauma.
Yes, they both had a story. Most of the time, our parents have a story. Some of us know about it. Some of us don't.
Right.
But I promise you, if you've experienced some form of trauma with your parents, they have a story. And usually they're repeating something that they've been through. And they just didn't know how to give you, what you needed.
Right.
They didn't have the tools to do that.
Exactly.
Today, we have access to all type of things. We know the ultimate source we're going to always promote is Yahuwah.
Right.
Before anything, before any other counsel. But I just wanted to share that too. We all have to be able to look deeper too when it comes to something that we may have experienced with our parents. Look deeper than them. Because it's really bigger than
something that you could do. Try to research your parents' story. I know, especially our parents, that generation, they just come from a hard generation, guys. They didn't talk about these things. If you talked about mental issues or anything, mental health, trauma, you were looked at as soft. You were looked at as crazy. They just didn't deal with it.
And they didn't believe in counseling either.
No.
You better not say counseling because they'd be like, I'm not crazy.
Exactly. Yep. You want to bring me to the crazy house?
Yes. So counseling was not it wasn't normal for them.
Right.
No.
Very important. The benefits of healing from these wounds, and the last one, which you were just talking about, what healed you, is that you lift a large burden off your shoulder when you heal from trauma. When you heal from these wounds.
Yes.
And a lot of time it's just forgiving people. Forgiveness is very powerful. Yep, a lot of times it's forgiveness and letting that go. Forgiving them doesn't mean that you forget what happened.
Right. And it doesn't mean that y'all's going to spare them neither because of what they've done to you, depending on what it is. I'm not saying I'm wishing y'all go and go around and just avenge and punish everybody. That's not what I'm saying.
Right. Right. That's very true. So yeah, you lift that burden, a large burden off of your shoulders when you heal from that. So
absolutely.
Very important, guys. Very important. The next topic we want to dive into. We're talking about healing from trauma, healing from childhood trauma. We all deal with it. We've experienced it. I'm sure you've experienced it. When you don't heal from trauma, guys, you put yourself in great danger. What you're doing is you're leaving yourself open to attacks from Satan, because this is what Satan does. He paints the healing or the way for you to cope. He paints that as something that's good, something that's going to be beneficial to you. But his coping methods is normally something that's unhealthy, drugs, addiction, alcohol. He gonna get you to cope in a way that's unhealthy, that's not beneficial to you. Suicide. I need relief. I need to get out of this situation. He makes you put on the victim hat. They gonna miss me when I'm gone. And that's all Satan talking to you.
Self-pity.
So, exactly. And that's all these things that happens when we don't heal from our traumas. So guys, that's why it's super important to heal.
Yes.
And again, when he does that, he paints all these different things. So look at what they're doing today, especially with our kids. They're confusing our kids about what gender they should be. They mixing them up at a very young age, and they know that, like we were saying, trauma doesn't affect just the black community. It's affecting all communities, and everyone's impacted because a lot of parents are broken parents and they're raising broken kids. So you have all these broken kids that are confused, and what the devil is doing when these broken kids confused about their gender, and they go to these doctors, the doctor doesn't say, "Hey, you may need to rethink this. Y'all made you a boy, you're a boy." What these doctors are doing, what society is doing, is saying, no, you need to have surgery. You to heal from this trauma, this mental trauma that you're going through, where you're confused. Instead of getting a psychological evaluation saying something is wrong with your mind, the doctors are prescribing that, no, you go through with this permanent surgery to change your body and alter your body. Come on, guys, that's sick.
And let's not forget, they remove the psychological evaluation. It's no longer in effect.
Yep.
Now it's not you have a psychological problem. They have completely removed it. It's now that, okay,
it's
just
normal.
Yep, you normal. You just feeling like you want to do something. I mean, be something else.
Right.
And so, be it.
You want to identify as this, and what you're talking about is that back in the 70s, the 60s, all of these conditions that is now being mainstream, all of these conditions, they were deemed mental problems, mental health issues.
Yep.
You need to go talk to a doctor. You need to seek a counselor to. You're just going through a phase right now.
Yep.
But now they switched it and said, no, this is you really feel like this. This is a permanent deal.
Yep.
And that's how they're confusing our kids and the adults, and that's a tactic from Satan, because there's so much trauma. There's people that haven't healed, and look at the crazy part. After these kids go through with this surgery, or they become adults, and then they want to transition back to how y'all designed them. Guess what those same doctors are? Nowhere to be found. Why they not found?
They don't have help anymore.
Exactly.
They can't transition now because the doctors have left, and they like. That's on them.
Right.
And then, matter of fact, they have created it to the point to where whenever they do the surgery, and then later many of them go through complications. Whenever they come back to try to seek help because of the complications they're going through, now they got to keep dishing out of their pocket and paying money. It's a money thing. They have to keep paying these doctors to try to help them with the complications. But they don't never talk about all of the future complications that's going to come with making these major changes in their lives.
You're going against Yah. What you think is going to happen when you go against Yah? Come on,
in a major way. You're completely altering his order.
Exactly. Altering Yah made you. He put his DNA in you. How you going to go against man? Again, man trying to play God. But again, that stems from the trauma. If you have a solid foundation, you wouldn't be confused by that. But again, guys, we're all coming from trauma. We're all trying to heal.
Right.
And that's what we're going to talk about. Healing. Let's dive into how to heal from trauma. A big part of that is seeking counsel, seeking wise counsel.
Remember, we said Yah first.
Right.
That's number one. But we want to also share too. Sometimes it gets to the point. Sometimes it's to the point to where it's extreme.
Right.
They have people that have been through so much in this world. Oh my. So there's some times when you have to, like, we say Yah number one, but it also says, because I know we're gonna get to okay, then I'm not gonna
talk about counseling. You're right. But like I was saying, is that it's important for counsel, like we were talking about. Why is it important? Because, guys, a lot of times we can't heal from these wounds, heal from the trauma by ourselves. It's just like if you get in a car accident. You can't, how can you heal yourself from a car accident? You have to go to the doctor and see professionals to help you heal. And that's where the word trauma comes from. And the scripture, Luke 10:34, talks about wounds and having someone else to help you heal your wounds. This is taken from when Yahuwah is giving an example of the Good Samaritan. Luke 10:34. You want to read that?
Yep. And it says, and he went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring in oil and wine, and set him on his own beast, and brought him to an inn, and took care of him.
Right. So that's what it's talking about. Sometimes when we need healing, we need help, we have to go to outsiders, somebody to help us heal up our wounds. Because a lot of times we fall into the trap of thinking either one, that nothing is wrong with us, or two, that no one can help me.
Right.
Because they got something wrong with them. But that's a false belief, guys. They have professionals out there that can help us. And that's a part of how to heal from these wounds, how to heal from trauma. And like I say, we know number one is Yah.
Yeah.
You have to seek Yah first. Seek him in prayer. Talk to him daily, just like when you gave your testimony about the lupus. You have to go to him in prayer and ask him.
Make sure you have a personal relationship with him.
Right, because he's going to heal. He's going to heal a broken heart. He heals wounds.
And he'll judge by your heart. He knows if it's sincere or not. You know, if you're really serious about overcoming that thing you're going through and actually truly forgiving in your heart, you know.
Psalms 147:3 talks about, says, yeah, he healed the broken in heart and bounded up their wounds. So he's the number one healer, guys.
Yes.
He's the number one healer. And not only that, secondly, like we were saying, you have to seek wise counsel.
Yes.
That we have a lot of experience in that. We want to share that with you guys. You have the definition of counselor. Let's talk about that.
Actually,
right quick.
This is from the Strong's. Counselors is actually in the scriptures. And this is the actual Strong's in Hebrew for counselors. It's pronounced Ya'at. And it says the short definition is to advise, counsel. And the long definition is to advise, consult, give counsel, purpose, devise plan. To, well, what you said again, is usually sometimes it just continues to repeat itself. But it says to consult, which I said that already. And it's kind of like to consult together, exchange counsel, deliberate, counsel together, and to conspire.
Right. Proverbs 11:14, where no counsel is, the people fall, but in the multitude of counselors there is safety.
Yes.
There is safety in a multitude of counselors, guys. A counselor is going to help you heal. Now, what we recommend is that you get a counselor that's familiar with whatever you're dealing with. Professional counsel, but number one, spiritual counseling. If you have someone that you can share the trauma with, or you need to speak with,
in the truth.
Right.
You know, someone make sure they're in the truth.
Right, exactly.
And they have a good history. I'll just say that to be able to.
Because you can't just go around sharing with everybody.
No.
Somebody that you feel that is confidential, somebody that you can trust.
Right.
That's kind of like you can almost say like a mediator, like an independent party.
Right.
That can help you out.
Right.
Because like I said, guys, we as believers, non-believers, everyone was dealing with all types of trauma, and the more help we can get, the better.
Right.
But sometimes too, like a spiritual counselor, they're not equipped to help. You might have a lot of trauma that you need professional help.
Yes.
And these professionals, they have tools.
Absolutely.
To help you to work through these things.
Right. Just like we have doctors.
Exactly.
And if there's an emergency come up, where are we gonna go?
Right. Right.
To the hospital.
Is nothing wrong, but just make sure you may have to go through a few of them, or do like a trial session to see that y'all have the same somewhat beliefs. If they're not way in left field with their beliefs, some of them may be a Christian counselor or something like that. But
just somebody
they're coming
that you know
from a biblical,
respect your biblical
and they're going to
beliefs.
respect your beliefs. They're not going to push it on you,
right? And
but they know that you're coming from a biblical perspective.
Exactly, they're not going to come at you like with worldly stuff and anything outside of what the word is saying. So
we definitely advise that seeking counsel, because we can't do it on our own, guys. If we could do it on our own, we'd be healed by now. So that's not the way, guys. Thirdly, how to heal from childhood trauma. We recommend joining a group. It's like-minded people, like-minded folks. If you have people in your own town that you can worship with, minister with.
And we know that's not possible for everybody. You know, it's like in these times that we're living in, it's very hard to find fellowship. Actually, a fellowship that is a decent fellowship with people that you can trust, and where you guys are all on the same accord. It's not that easy to find today in these last days, but if you can find it, then that would be wonderful.
Count your blessings, because
yes.
you are blessed.
Yes.
James 5:16 talks about confess your faults to one another and pray for one another that you may be healed.
Right.
The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much.
Yes.
So that's the purpose of being in a group of like-minded people, of especially like what you were just saying, in a group of believers where you can pray for each other.
Yes.
It says this, prayers of a righteous man avail it much.
Right.
So it's very important, guys.
And even if it's not a group, if it's somebody that you have developed a closeness with, a relationship with in the truth, somebody spiritual who you know that you can trust them, and then you can share, and they can probably pray for you, stuff like that. It's important for us to be all praying for one another.
Right.
So.
Right. That's important, guys. We talked about how to heal, so let's talk about how not to heal. There's a lot of ways to do it wrong, guys. There's a lot of ways to do it wrong.
Yes.
One way is you definitely have to be humble, especially if you're a parent, and like what you were saying earlier, and your kids are coming to you saying the things that you've caused them. We have an example going on. I'm sure you guys heard it in the news. Example in the news that's going around with Percy Miller. He's an entertainer, Master P, and his son Romeo. They're having a big old squabble on the internet about childhood trauma. His son is reaching out about how he stayed silent for so many years, and now this is his only way to express it over the internet. When really it could have been done behind closed doors, because he's saying that his dad is not being humble. He can't go to him. The only way he can speak to him is through social media. And that's not the way to do it, guys. You don't have to put it on social media.
Right, and he said every time he tries to speak to his father deflects. And he just recently lost his sister, which is his father's daughter, also to not suicide, but drugs. It was a pill that she took.
Right. And
the pill, what is the name of those pills?
Fentanyl.
Yep, and it killed her. So they're going through grief in their family, but a lot of things are coming out. And the thing with that is, I know we're talking about a celebrity. The reason why we bring this up sometimes, because this is how we find out what's going on in the world.
Right.
But we want to make sure we make this clear. Just because they celebrities don't mean that they don't bleed like us.
Exactly.
Don't mean that they don't feel like us. Many of them started where we are.
Exactly.
Many of them started in trauma where we are.
And the success hid the trauma.
Yes, that was their way to suppress. Remember we was talking about the different ways that you suppress. Some of them could be through what we were saying.
Materialism.
It could be through education.
Yep.
It can be through, like we said, suicide. Some of them do it like that through music.
Addiction,
through music.
Right.
And that's what they did to get their way out of what they thought they were getting themselves out, but they were running from their trauma, to be honest. And it spewed over to the children. And when we like I said, we talk about them because just because they have more money than us and they're celebrities and they're they're in this world doesn't mean that these people are not. I mean,
impacted.
They go through the same type of sufferings we go through.
Exactly.
The same thing.
It's just magnified because they're celebrities.
Exactly. But their story is really many people's stories who are not celebrities. It's just theirs in the spotlight.
Exactly.
But when the dad, he became successful, he was married to the son's mother. They had 7 kids together. She helped him build the company.
Right.
And guess what? When he became successful, bye-bye to the wife.
Yep. Out of there.
And so a lot of what's coming to him right now is a lot of the seeds that he has sowed. This is the foundation. This is why we talk about building on the right foundation. Why it's so important, because it'll come back later on in the future. And usually it comes through your kids.
Yep. Absolutely. That's so important, guys. That how not healing in that way, especially doing it in a public setting, you have to humble ourselves. Especially, like I said, if you're a parent,
Right.
Humble yourselves. Because remember, guys, and like I was saying earlier about our parents, they come from a hard generation.
Yes.
And sometimes you may not be able to reach them. I mean, you can try, but some of them they just don't want to talk about. They don't even know how to talk about it. Yeah. Sometimes a lot of stuff they don't want to bring up.
And sometimes you will not find healing through your parents.
Exactly.
I'm going to talk to you guys too, because I'm sure they have some people on here who their parents probably passed away, or whoever offended you probably passed away.
Right.
And you never was able to get that closure. But the thing is, there's still a way for you to get closure. And that comes from Yah, number one. We always say Yah for the source. But that also, I mean, a counselor, that's why we talk about the counselors. They can help you with
tools,
that.
right.
Give you the tools so that you can actually get that closure. Because that's important to get closure from that. Because sometimes you're going to be in a situation where you just can't get it because their parent has passed away. Or you just no longer connected. There might be a toxic parent that you know I can't connect with them. I can't talk to them because every time I do, they drain me. Or I end up in a worse situation than I was in before. You know? So that's important to touch on.
Exactly. Second thing we do when it's the wrong way to heal, which again, I talked about it earlier. We thinking that we can heal on our own. We think that I got this. I saw a video the other day that's saying how to heal from trauma on your own. I didn't watch it, but I saw the title. I'm like, that's interesting. I'm not saying it can't be done because we've heard stories that people like stop smoking cigarettes or something. They prayed and it was like, I never picked up a cigarette
again. That was fate. Right. We know that the principles is the same for everybody, whether they believers or not. Yah says if we have faith.
Exactly.
We can move mountains.
Right.
So that's what that is. A lot of that is faith. But to be honest with you, many of us don't have that strong kind of faith.
Exactly. You're going to need help.
Yes.
And like I always say, the devil, his greatest tactic is separating you and isolating you.
Yeah.
That's his greatest tactic, is to isolate you.
And creating bitterness in you.
Yeah.
You know, where you become so angry because he knows that angriness brings upon illnesses. It brings upon illnesses. So if you've been dealing with some form of some illnesses and stuff like illnesses also could mean trauma.
Right.
That is an indication that you have never healed from something too.
Exactly.
So that's important to know.
That's what we're saying. You have to. Don't fall into the trap of thinking I can heal from this on my own. I got it. Seek help. Seek counsel. Release it. Talk to somebody privately that you trust. Sometimes we just have to get stuff off our chest.
Yes.
And that's a big relief. And it may not be the person you can dump the tension or the forgiveness that you want to offer to them, but because they might not accept it. Or they just might not receive it. But as long as you can do it to someone you trust and somebody that's there to help you and coach you if possible, that's even better. Don't ever fall into the trap of you can do this on your own.
Right.
Because now you're playing into the devil's hand.
Yes, and I would say too, if you're a parent and you have probably done something that may have offended your children or caused the rift between you guys, it's okay to be humble.
Yes.
Go to your children.
Yes.
Share your story with them. Because many times they just want to hear I'm sorry.
Yep.
Many times they just want to know this is why I did it. I didn't have the tools.
Exactly.
I wish I would have done it better.
Exactly.
You know, just humble yourself and share your story with your children, because whenever we deflect, it creates a wall. And there's no healing comes with that. You have to be able to bring that wall down. You have to be able to come to your children humble and say, you know what, I did the best in my in my circumstances at the time, based on the tools. Based on my situation at the time and the tools that I had at the time. I didn't have any
tools.
I didn't know where to go. You know, they just want you to just tell them, I'm sorry. I hear what you're saying. And what you're saying is valid.
Exactly.
Not making them feel like what you're saying is not valid.
Right.
You know, as forgiveness that could come through that. Because none of us is perfect. We have all made some type of mistakes in our lives. And it's okay to just say, I didn't know better. I didn't know how to do this thing. that you wanted me to do. I can't be that anymore. What you wanted me to be then,
because I didn't have those tools.
I didn't have the tools, but I can make it better now. We can start right now, and we can make it better moving forward. You know, but that's important because
that's so important.
Yeah,
because what you're saying, the example we were just given, what Master P did, what he did wrong was when his son expressed himself, he immediately deflected and said, "Oh, your son, you just want some money. Oh, you're not in the position where you want to be." That's not the right way to do it.
And then he told him, "You're acting like a spoiled child."
Yeah, you see,
because he feel like
you diminishing his feelings.
Yep, I went on and I worked hard and bust my tail to give y'all everything y'all have. But one thing we have learned, and if you listen to a lot of people who have money, they'll tell you that money means nothing. Once they start dealing with their traumas and they really things start coming out and they're hurting, they start saying money means nothing.
Nothing. I'd rather have my peace.
I'd rather have my peace than this money.
Yep.
They'll tell you this means nothing. So, but when you get caught up in that life, you start feeling like money is the answer to any solution, to every solution, when it is not. It is not the answer to healing.
Exactly.
That can't solve healing.
Nope, not at all. 100% correct. So guys, we talked about how to heal from trauma, childhood trauma, how not to heal. How to heal, number one, you have to go to Yah. Put your trust in Yah. He will heal. He heals wounds. He heals all wounds. Mighty Yah. Number two, you have to seek counsel. Nothing wrong with seeking counselors. Many of us fall into that trap. We used to believe that counselors are wicked. Nah, I don't want to.
I used to believe that too.
I don't want to deal with counselors. We've had experience with bad counselors. That's why we're saying you have to.
Right.
You have to fill them out and even be like a a trial session.
Right.
To see if y'all beliefs match up.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that. A lot of times counselors do that for free.
Right.
So.
And we know that we also know too that it's not always going to be easy to find a counsel in the body.
Right.
That's not easy because now you have to be careful with who you trust.
Exactly.
We living in some totally different times now. We're getting closer to the end. It's crazy out here.
Sometimes people take what you said and try to use it against you, but we're not saying that for you to be fearful. Just confide in people that you trust in.
Exactly. Seek y'all to show you which way to go.
Thirdly, how to heal from trauma. Join a group, join a body of believers, like-minded people that can hold you accountable to heal through that process, to help you on your journey of healing from trauma. How not to heal. You have to humble you. You have to be humble. If you're not humble, especially as a parent, and you're deflecting from what your kids are saying, you're dismissing what they're saying. Like you said, they're putting up a wall. Right.
And harboring unforgiveness in your heart as well. If you do that, you can't heal. You won't be able to heal with bitterness in your heart. You have to forgive and let it. I hate to say let it go, but not completely, because you can never forget trauma, because once you've experienced trauma, that's something that's now in you. It's ingrained in you. But you can develop the tools to be able to maneuver through life in a healthy way, even though you have experienced that trauma.
Right. Absolutely. Another way to put it is just knowing how to communicate. A big part of it is communicating effectively.
Right.
Our parents didn't know how to do it. But like you just said, we have all the tools, so really there's no excuse for us.
Right.
We have all the tools. They even do counseling online now. They teach anything that you want to know. It's out there. Yeah, virtual, telephone. You don't have to go sit in the office anymore.
If you have jobs too, check with your jobs, because a lot of your jobs, they will help fund the counseling, counseling sessions.
Counseling session less than the cost of a meal of eating out with your family.
Right.
Sometimes it's like $20-$25. Or
$10. It just depends on your job.
Exactly. Your mental health is important, guys. You have to take care of it. It's very important. How not to heal, second part, just thinking that you can do it on your own. That's you do that, you're playing into the devil's hand, because what he wants to do is isolate you. Yep. He wants to isolate you, and that's when you're vulnerable to attacks, when you're isolated.
Absolutely.
That's the worst way to go.
Absolutely.
And thirdly, just do it in private. You don't have to blast people on the internet, people that you feel that have hurt you, that have harmed you. We see another example. They've got these couples that are going through very public messy divorces online. Like stuff like that, you have to. Sometimes you just have to cut yourself off from social media or from. I'm gonna say from family and friends, but sometimes you just have to sit down and just listen to Yah, pray to Yah, get yourself right, and let Him work on you before you going out there and bashing people. Because like we said, everyone has dealt with some type of trauma.
Yes. And
you tearing down somebody else is not going to help you heal.
Right.
Work on yourself. Let Yah do His work in you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So guys, that's our teaching. We want to close with this verse, Proverbs 15:22. You want to read that?
Yes, it says, without counsel, purposes are disappointed, but in the multitude of counselors, they are established.
Talk, communicate. That's one of the biggest ways how to heal from trauma.
Yes.
Talk and communicate. Don't suppress, because of what you just said. Suppressing is illness. I don't know if you worded it that way, but you're suppressing. Trauma is illness.
Trauma is illness. Yes,
it leads to illnesses. So
yeah,
the only way that you can heal one of the ways, right? One of the ways to heal through it is talking, communicating about it.
Right.
Talking with people you trust, talking with professionals, and number one, going to Yah, praying to Yah about it, and He definitely can heal your wounds.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that's it, guys. We hope you enjoyed this topic. This was on our hearts for a while.
Yes.
We didn't know how we was going to come out with it, but we were moved. We're like, man, a lot of things are going on. So
we're
getting a lot of messages, right?
Yes, messages and things we're seeing just all over in the world. All of this trauma that's going on, and nobody is addressing it the right way.
Exactly, and it's getting worse.
It is getting worse.
Getting worse.
Make things right with your family, your children, your parents, if you can.
Right.
Because we know that's not always the case, but if not, just find that peace within your heart, with Yah. Because Yah says He's the father to the fatherless.
Yep.
When our parents, when our mother and our father forsake us, it says He will take us up.
Absolutely.
So we have to, those scriptures too is true. All His word is the truth.
Absolutely. And guys, we love hearing your comments. Let us know what you think about this teaching. Somebody commented that we read the other day. There's like, especially dealing with this topic, is like, the devil, he's after our kids. So, guys, your healing not only affects you, it affects your kids, it affects your grandkids. It's multiple generations.
Absolutely.
So that's why we working so hard on ourselves. So our kids can have we changing the pathology. Exactly. Yes. So we want them to be better, because we don't want our kids to say, well, our parents did this, which we know they're going to say something, but
but guess what? We apologize for every single thing we ever thought of, and it was like, yo, it was good parents, and this look, whatever we thought
we did something wrong, right? We didn't handle something
because
right
we know we came from trauma, right? So we like, look, we sorry,
exactly.
So that way you can't come back and point your finger. You didn't do. We sorry for everything. We love y'all. We did the best we could with what we had.
Exactly. And sometimes we've made mistakes, and like you said, we told them we're sorry, but sometimes we were right too, and had to let them know, look, this, sometimes you just have to you got to suffer the consequences for what you did, for your actions, or you have to learn that this is not acceptable.
Right.
And nothing is wrong with that. But they have an open dialogue with us, and we try to have an open dialogue with our kids. And that's what we want you guys to do.
Yes.
Have open communication. Very important.
Yes.
That way things are not suppressed for over 10, 20, 30 years. And then they're hitting you. They coming later saying, Mom, you did this to me. Dad, you didn't do this for me.
Right.
No, come talk to me now, so that way we can deal with it.
Absolutely.
And that's it, guys.
They can have healthier relationships with their children.
It's going to impact every relationship that they have, with their spouses to with their kids, grandkids, all of that.
Yes.
Very important. So, guys, we hope you enjoyed this teaching.
Yes.
We're gonna see you on the next one. Like we said, like, share, comment, and just keep supporting the channel. We're thankful for you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoy your day.
All right.